Hello, good morning, everyone. As I have already communicated to all of you, today we'll be having the session by Subhajit. Subhajit was referred to me by,
Chatterjee.
yeah, Chatterjee, was referred to me by our own student Narendranath Nadik. The brief profile of him I have already shared. He has completed his BSc and MSc in statistics from Calcutta University, and he has been working in many companies. And right now, he is with IBM as the lead data scientist. Sir, I usually tell all my students, if you, in fact, I've shared the syllabus copy also with you. And in the emerging area of data science, as you already know, the emphasis on statistics, the techniques which are employed in statistics, I feel statistics has got a new birth with the emergence of data science. The
Data
importance
science,
of
yeah.
that should be now understood by everyone. And it's really good that we are joined by a career statistician like you. Because these guys are usually in this programming kind of mode. So I
Correct.
hope your insights into this matter will help our students to understand why it is actually necessary to understand the fundamentals of from the statistics perspective of all these topics. Welcome, sir, on behalf of my students and my personal behalf.
Thank you,
And now
Anuj.
you can take over the session. I'll
Thank you,
make you
Anuj.
the host.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir, now you are the host. You can share your screen and we can start.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Yes, idea se पूछो.
yeah, we can
I
switch
will
off our
be
videos and we can start the session.
correct. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, Naren.
So I will be sharing my screen. Sir, actually, there is one small problem.
No,
I can only share the whiteboard.
no problem, sir. No problem.
No, actually, I wanted to share my screen.
Oh, okay. Well, what you can do is, sir, probably after the session, you can share
Uh,
the presentation or something if you have.
Actually, sir, I
Ah,
have a
presentation.
presentation. If you want, I can share
Okay.
my screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's up?
Subhajit, you want to share my screen or something? Or
Yeah, please, if you can do that, Naren.
yeah,
Okay. So see, in fact, today in our brief session, primarily, I will try to make overall basically talking less about the mathematics, but yes, definitely we cannot avoid it. But however, our perspective will be more towards the practical usage and a kind of a very basic introduction about how you run a regression and you can infer some of the results out of it. So that will be our perspective, and of course, definitely I believe that many of you already are familiar with these topics, but let me just take this opportunity to talk a bit about this particular subject. So Naren, if you can go to the second slide. And
yeah,
regression analysis is primarily one of the very important element in terms of statistical modeling, statistical analysis. Here, statistics starts with basic data analysis, that we call it as exploratory data analysis, whereby we do summarize, we come up with a lot of different types of central tendencies and other things. And regression is just the immediate next step from there. Let us, many of the times we actually come up with a situation whereby we want to predict or forecast some of the outcomes, like what exactly will be the income, what will be the expenditure. If you really go through the newspaper on a daily basis, you will be finding something like a GDP will be growing by this much percentage, and next quarter, next 1 year, the GDP will be like this, industrial output will be like this. So these type of different types of summaries and the information and insights you will be finding everyday basis on the newspaper, many different web portals and everything. So these GDPs, as you know, these are all certain kind of a numbers. These numbers could be percentage, these numbers could be certain kind of a number like a continuous value and things like that. And these elements will be coming as a outcome of many different factors impacting that particular outcome. So if I really take this particular thing whereby I have put, because it is very live. Yesterday we were talking about in one of our IBM forum about this particular use case for one of the telco. So we have to predict some outcome which is continuous in nature. And here in this kind of a telecom scenario, we have to predict like how many new subscribers our telecom company will be getting every month for the next 1 year. So they wanted to know their subscriber base growth. And for them, there are few informations are there. I have tried to summarize as three very basic factors. One is monthly marketing budget. You know that Airtel, Jio, Idea, Vodafone, previously there were something like a Uninor, Telenor. They used to do a lot of marketing, and still now they do a lot of marketing in television, in newspaper, in social media. They do a lot of marketing, even on the roadside billboards and hoardings. They have a specific information like monthly churn rate, and in their top level information, these information is captured. So they say that every quarter I'm losing, or every month I'm losing 11% of my existing subscriber base. So this percentage, these budgets, you can appreciate that these are all merely some numbers. And also at the same time, social media rating. If nowadays we all, primarily the people from the new generation, they are very much they look at the ratings, they look at the star ratings, feedbacks by the people on some of the review forums like Google, Twitter, and some of the consumer forums like Mouthset. So these also define a lot a growth of the company. So in such scenario, we understand that our Y variable, what we want to predict, is basically the monthly acquisition of new subscribers. That means it could be 10,000, it could be 10 lakh, it could be 1 crore or whatever, like that. So our Y is basically the monthly new subscribers. And we have certain explanatory variables. What do we call it as explanatory variables? Which are the factors defining the Y. So thereby you have this marketing budget, churn rate, social media, and things like that. There are several such industry scenarios. This is just one of them. There are many such economic and industrial scenarios. I gave an example of GDP. You keep on seeing a lot of different types of agricultural crop production. Agricultural crop production is basically dependent on many things. It depends on the rainfall, it depends on the temperature, it depends on some of the other weather and meteorological information. So it is also a very similar kind of scenario. So you can think of as much a scenario that you can think. Even some of you are very familiar with the data centers, servers, and all other things. So data center, how much consumption will be there? So that is also one of such example from the regular technology landscape. So I would like to go to the next page, Naren. Yeah. And here, nevertheless, I believe that some of you or many of you have the idea of how the regression equation will look like, but still I would like to highlight that. So there are a classical linear regression model. Definitely there are multiple variations. It is one of the very basic linear regression model whereby we say y equal to alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 plus and so on. What do we mean by that? Why already we talked about monthly acquisition of new subscribers in light of the previous slide. X, there are three X's we have talked about: marketing budget, churn rate, and social media rating. And these are all at a monthly level. So when we call about alpha, alpha is just like the intercept or the baseline in the regression model. So what do we mean by intercept or baseline? Just like I am an Airtel customer, and without doing any extra marketing exercise with me, if I want to take another one more subscription in my family, automatically my basic inclination will be towards Airtel. That means automatically with my existing customer base and without doing anything, I should be able to get something as an extra. That is called intercept in regression context, and we, in a normal human language or layman's language, we call the baseline. So here it means the minimum number of subscription the telecom company will acquire every month without doing any extra effort. And then comes your incremental efforts. Incremental efforts are based on your marketing activity, on your controlling the churn rate, on basically how you can improve your social media rating and things like that. If a company is having a better social media rating, then definitely they are going to get more actually the customer following, fan following, and all other things. You know that a lot of people do spend a lot of money in getting Twitter followership, Instagram followership, and things like that. So these are all the different types of factors in actually gaining momentum and things like that. Now, one more question, a very basic question will keep on coming to all of you is this beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. We call them as regression coefficient, which is one of the important multiplier to all these three factors that defines the subscriber growth. So what do I mean by beta 1? Beta 1 is the coefficient related to the marketing budget becoming my x1. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if I increase my marketing budget by $1, I hope that some of you will be definitely nationalists and you will be objecting using dollar. Yes, it is a bad habit of ourselves, but however, yeah, it could be INR, it could be anything, any other currency. So if they increase marketing budget by 1 rupee or $1 or 1 pound or something, then the new additional subscribers will be beta 1. So that means it is called power of 1. If I increase my this one of these x variable by 1 unit, then how much additional I will be getting in my y variable. And in similarly, beta 2, beta 3 are defined. Now these beta values are all can take positive values and negative values. If that particular factor determines and defines your y positively, then the value will be positive. If they actually do it negatively, then the value will be negative, and things like that. So this is a very basic layman's interpretation of a regression equation and its different types of coefficients and factors. On top of that, as you know, that statistics, we always try to minimize the error part of it. So means no matter whatever is basically the fantastic factors defining your growth and all other things, there will be something which you cannot control. That is your error rate. So the better your model, the better, lower is the error rate. So that is what primarily is our motto. We wanted to better the model. We wanted to include the best predictors into the model so that my error becomes lower and we get a kind of a near perfect scenario. Next slide, please, Naren. Yeah. So there are some assumptions whenever we do regression analysis. And to be honest, if I really explain these assumptions and when assumption is broken or breached, then what exactly is the consequence, then we will be taking a few days to explain all these things because this is too in-depth. And actually the beauty of real life data is in almost 99% of the scenarios, you will be getting the violation of the regression assumptions. The first and very basic assumption is we call it as linear regression. So linearity is the very important assumption of any kind of a linear regression. So there should be a linear and additive relationship between dependent variable and independent variables. Naren, if you can go back to the previous slide. So you can see I am defining the relationship as a kind of a very basic linear combination on my right hand side, and also at the same time these combinations are additive, alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2. So we are actually ultimately end of the day adding these effects and their corresponding the value of the effects and everything. So that means it is linear and it is additive. Go to the next slide, Naren. Yeah. No, previous one. So the point is a linear relationship suggests that a change in response y due to 1 unit change in x is constant, regardless of the value of x. That means what I explained in the previous slide, the power of 1. If I increase x by 1 unit, then how much y is going to be changed? That is actually has to be a constant one. There should be no correlation between the residual error terms. Absence of this phenomenon is known as autocorrelation. I will not go to the second sentence here. Absence of this phenomenon is known as autocorrelation. However, I will try to stick to the first sentence, which is the point number 2. There should be no correlation between the residual terms. So I talked about something like a error rate, means no matter how fantastic is my effects are, how fantastic is my model is, still there will be some kind of a correlation and still there will be some kind of an error. And that error is basically a fact. Actually, it is the result of multiple different things which we cannot account for. So these particular errors should not be correlated between themselves. If they are correlated, then that indicates the different types of pattern in the data. However, in linear regression, we generally rule out this particular scenario. Very important factor, the third point is independent variables. We have 3 independent variables here, x1, x2, and x3. So these variables should be mutually uncorrelated, or should not be correlated. Absence of this phenomenon is called multicollinearity. Many of the times what happens, just like when you say something like my finance budget and then marketing budget. Finance budget determines marketing budget and vice versa. It could happen like that. Generally, it could be different also, but in most of the scenarios, it will be like that. If I include these two factors in the model, then definitely that is a classical example of a multicollinearity. Finance budget is also one of the factor, and marketing budget is also one of the factor. They are highly correlated between themselves. So that becomes a phenomena of multicollinearity. Similarly, suppose say another classical example, if you are too tall, then definitely your bone weight and your muscular weights and everything will add up to your weight, no matter you are fat or something. So that means your height and your weight will be highly correlated or mutually related. So means if I include in any of the predictive model that height and weight together, then that could be one example whereby it is a multicollinearity situation. Fourth point, I generally don't want to discuss too much in detail. We call it as homoscedasticity. So whereby we say that error, ultimately, you know that in all the kind of say statistical exercises, we generally say error is the most important thing. We wanted to reduce the error rate. The better, lower we can reduce the error rate, better is the power of my statistical model. So now that means this particular error also has certain kind of a variation. So if this variation remains almost constant and I don't see any kind of a much variation in there, then definitely that is the most sought after thing. If there is a too much of fluctuating variation in the error rates, then definitely that is not well desired, and also at the same time it will be causing some problem in the model stability. The desired state is called homoscedasticity. Friends, you can all take these few names. I know that you already are familiar with, but still you can take these few names to do your own research. And maybe if everything goes well, maybe we are meeting in some time, maybe we can talk about these topics in detail one by one. And last but not least, error terms must be normally distributed. So whatever I've talked about the error, so these errors has to follow a statistical distribution, because in statistics we try to or tend to follow every data against certain kind of a distribution. One of the very important distribution is normal distribution. So error terms must be normally distributed. So this is the last but not least and one of the very basic monolith of classical linear regression modeling. In many literatures, in many old books, you will be calling them as CLRM, classical linear regression model. Naren, if you go to the next page. So in the morning today, in fact, definitely this is something like one of the public domain available information. I was trying to do a kind of a basic regression equation fitting and wanted to show some of the facts from a very layman's and high level perspective. So I tried to create a data, and here I have used R. You know, there is a open source programming language called R. And for most of the statistical modeling, we generally prefer to use R because R so far has been rich next to SAS. Python is definitely great, but Python is more towards actually machine learning, and also at the same time, it is when we do a lot of rigorous programming and other things. But however, the statistical community globally, after SAS, they will be preferring R. So now I actually wanted to read this data. In this data, I have 4 variables. Age as one variable, age is in years. Politic is basically my political attitude, whether I am basically moderate, I'm liberal, I'm conservative, and this type of things. Educational, years in education, whether I have been into 12 years of my education, 14 years of education, 16 years. Higher the years in education means more educated I am. And another one is income. Income means say basically thousands. 70 means 70,000 and things like that. So I tried to create a basic regression equation. Income is predicted against age and education. So this is basically the function that we use. LM is the regression function for linear model. LM means linear model. Data has been T. So if I have used this particular thing, then I can see one model is run, and then you can see a kind of a summary. You will be finding few things like intercept, age, and education. The estimates are nothing but, if you go back to our previous example, y equal to alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3. So exactly this is the same. Y is equal to your income, and your alpha is that intercept, which is basically 15.2851. Means you don't have any educational background. Age anyways has to be there. Age cannot be 0. So a general human being in this particular study will be earning on an average 15.28 thousand, means 15,280 or something in dollar or INR or whatever you call it. So then age has a coefficient. Age has a coefficient of 0.4740, means if you increase your age by 1 year, then definitely your overall potential to earn will be going by 0.47 thousand. Means almost I would say it will be 0.47 thousand, means around close to 500 rupees you will be earning more. Educational background, that is the most significant predictor here. You can see if you have one more additional year of educational history, then definitely you will be getting 3.8085, almost 4,000 rupees extra earning potential. There are some stats to look at. If you really look at in the second line from the end, multiple R square is 0.704 and adjusted R square is 0.5067. So I can say that this is more or less a good model because adjusted R square something more than 60% is considered as stable and good. So whereby I can see that this is something like a near good model, and maybe basically income can be dependent on multiple different things. It is not only dependent on age and education, but however 50% of the variation in income is explained by these two factors, age and education. So I don't know whether you are familiar with such countries like in Europe, Switzerland, Austria, even Germany also. In these countries, income is very much standardized. You have a specific age group, you have a specific educational background, and no matter whether you are working in a municipality or you are working in a large corporate or in Amazon, you have to earn a specific amount, and that also has a kind of a upper limit. So you cannot go actually beyond the lower limit, and you cannot go beyond the upper limit. So they try to make the income as standardized, and hence they wanted to create a social equity in the overall societal system. So this type of examples might have cropped up from there, and thereby I can say that my age and education, these two factors, are actually explaining 50% of the income. So that considers as a kind of a say overall good fit. There is one more thing I would love to say, that F statistic and then p-value. So p-value, if you really look at the coefficients part of this particular regression result, you will be finding the absolutely the extreme right hand column is probability greater than mod t, and probability values, these are actually the p-values of each of the coefficients, be it intercept, be it the coefficient of age, be it a coefficient of education. You will be finding 0.179 as the coefficient, as the p-value corresponding to age. In statistical analysis, we have a thumb rule of 0.05 as the p-value. If some value is basically less than 0.05, try to understand, if it is less than 0.05, then we say that this is something like a significant factor. If it is more than 0.05, then it is not a significant factor. So however, in such scenarios whereby these particular things, age and education, these are not too high p-value. However, intercept, I would say it is too high. Even the education is also too high. So here I can say that age from the p-value standpoint, the most significant. And overall impact standpoint, I would say education is the most important. How I can say that education, the coefficient value is 3.8085, whereas its p-value is little bit on the higher side, but age 0.4740, definitely a little bit less, but its p-value has been lower. So that means there is a kind of a bit of trade-off. While we build any kind of a predictive model using regression and all, we generally keep on considering or pondering over such kind of a trade-off scenarios. What to go by? Do we go by the kind of as impact, or we go by the significance level, which is defined by the p-value? The last part, actually, I have given a small example. If I want to predict for any future customer, future actually candidate, so whereby age is 35 and education years in education is 15 years, then I wanted to say how much has been the prediction of my predicted income. Then you can see that my predicted income is something around 89.00426, means almost 89,000. At the age of 35 with 15 years of educational background, then this guy is going to earn something around 89,000 INR or USD or whatever you call it. So this is actually the overall some of the examples and the basics that I can cover here. And now I think we should be open for the Q&A. And if you have any questions for me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think, well, as you rightly said, R should have been the tool that we should have been using for the course, but since most of them come from programming background, we have stick to Python. But I am very sure that our students have worked on R and they're comfortable with R. We have a decent amount of time spent on regression before we started the ML models. And I'm sure some of the students will have some questions to be asked. So now the forum is open for the questions. So if anybody has a question, you can please unmute yourself and ask, or if you are comfortable, you can even send it in the chat box. Is that fine, sir?
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Yeah, fine.
Please.
So please go ahead and ask your question.
Actually, before you all ask the questions, I wanted to add a couple of quick points, 2 minutes of every. Even I keep on talking to Naren when we work together, or probably my other team members. Even I used to actually be, and still I enjoy actually teaching and all other things. So there are two things very important. Yes, with data science, with machine learning, a lot of open source programming, the opportunity has become quite wide open in terms of analyzing data and coming up with insights and all other things. But no matter whatever we do, end of the day, we need to know bit of mathematics very clearly. If you really go to regression, and before you do the regression, there is one more very basic element which we call it as analysis of variance. So elements are all very big time fallout of mathematics. If we are clear about linear algebra, if we are clear about calculus, and if we are clear about algebra overall, so then probably I think all these exercises, all these basically studies and curriculum will become far more effective than we can think of. And thereby we can achieve our competitiveness in comparison to our international counterparts who are there in US or in Japan or in China or in Australia or in Europe. That is what one point of thing. And yes, definitely I come from the core statistical background, hence definitely it has been my overall it has been our main mandate to learn these things. But I really request all of you who are going to be in the industry in next 1 year, 2 year or 3 year down the line, then definitely if you can focus on those elements, then definitely it will be a kind of a great value addition to your respective careers.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a very, this is an off-beat question which I wanted to ask. I am a frequent traveler to Kolkata. I make it a point to visit Kolkata at least once every year.
Okay.
So I wanted to understand from you, what is this fascination among Bengalis towards statistics? Is it because of ISI alone, or is there a, because in fact, if one studies the number of statisticians in India, I think Bengalis will top and followed only by people from Andhra.
See, there are two important things. In fact, if you really look at and basically study the spread of mathematics, or probably the fascination towards mathematics, people from the coastal part of India are actually very strong in mathematics. So in a matter, Bengalis definitely. Bengalis, if you really look at, then definitely the Bengalis in South Bengal will be having the
Yeah.
most fascination about mathematics. That is one. It is not only about ISI. Yes, definitely IIT Kharagpur is there. Similarly, the Calcutta University is the mother of all the ISI, IITs, and everything.
Correct.
I am from Calcutta University. Similarly,
Oh.
Jadavpur University is there.
Yes.
If you really go to the coastal side of India, then some coastal Odia, Telugus, and also at the same time Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and
Yeah.
also on the same side in the Mangalore side, you will be finding plenty of people from the say ISROs and our DRDOs and ISI. You will be finding all of them from
In
these
fact, even in IAC.
IAC also. Yes, exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So that is one of the thing, and our fascination to mathematics is like that. In fact, see, yesterday evening, and I keep on talking like that for regularly with my
Yeah.
wife also. That when my son is around 9.5 years old.
Ah.
So the point is, I keep on telling her, see, ultimately, end of the day, two things to notice. One is basically he's comfortable with mathematics, because not only he has to become a mathematics, because it is logic.
Yeah.
That is one thing. And second one is English, because that is widely accepted
Correct.
international language of communication.
Yes.
However, yeah, definitely, no matter whatever, we are in language, we are in art, we are in culture, or we are in engineering,
Yeah.
mainly the main thing is that we have to be fundamentally strong, sir.
So
If
can
we
we
love our
can
subject,
we can we kind of do a research on correlation between uh, eating fish and interest in mathematics?
actually,
Because
there was a very fantastic research paper was there. Yeah, I don't know whether you follow Jayaprakash Narayan, JP.
yes, 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 yes.
The question is, there was some research paper who has studied some of the demographics and their orientation and fascination towards the academic curriculum.
Okay.
So even for your example, I come from a family of the from the Noxalite.
Okay. Okay.
Subhajit, one point to add. Sir used to give us like one speech on politics every Saturday, like out of all the 7 classes.
So then I am based out of Bangalore, sir.
Yeah.
But nowadays, taking the advantage of virtuality, I am
Yeah.
right now back to Calcutta.
Okay.
So, next time I will be back. I will be coming to your office, sir.
Oh, sure, sure.
Because politics is the most important, fascinating subject, no matter what.
Correct,
Sir, you
correct.
talked about George Fernandez, if you remember,
Yes, 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 yes.
1975.
Correct. Yeah, yeah,
Actually, one of my grandfather, he stays here with us. He is
Okay.
mainly from the Naxalite background, with whom I have spent quite a significant number of years in Delhi. So
Okay.
he has been a kind of a comrade with George Fernandez and
Oh,
Sarath
okay.
Yadavs and everyone.
Maybe Bhopal conspiracy case, I was following it quite closely. I was reading
Okay,
it for
okay.
one of my books.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I am basically from free and open source background.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So my PhD is in free and open source.
Oh, okay.
And right from Che Guevara to Richard Stallman and everybody, though we
Yes.
don't explicitly say that, we do know that the free and open source in spirit and in principle is influenced by all this theory.
Absolutely.
So my PhD thesis also one chapter was reserved for analyzing the sociological background of free and open source software.
No, actually, this is the democratization is very important, but also
Yes.
at the same time, with what happened that with democratization, it requires a kind of a bit of accountability also.
Yes, yes.
So, because in our regular industry and everything, we see not only the great usage of analytics, data science, open source, and all other things, we see a kind of a lot of abuse also.
Yeah.
So that part we have to be a little bit controlling our cravings and yearnings.
In fact, even with the Google, there is this controversy which is brewing there about the accountability in AI and all that, with they firing their deputy chief on accountability.
No,
So
it
I
is
think,
true.
yeah. So we all understand that. Sir, I think either students are very comfortable with whatever you have spoken, or they have just fallen asleep because they have just completed their test yesterday. So I'm very sure they would have enjoyed. I'll definitely take the feedback from students and I'll get back to you, sir, in case they have any.
Absolutely, please, definitely.
Yeah.
And one more thing, I will be in touch with you. I
Sure.
like talking to you today,
Yeah,
and
sure,
this has
sure.
been a great pleasure and
Sure,
a
sir,
great
sure.
weekend to have, to be honest.
Yeah, sure. We will continue our conversation in private later.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Naren, for introducing us to Subhajit. And next time we'll start our conversation in Bengali.
Definitely. You understand Bengali?
Very much, yes. As I said, I keep
Great.
going to Kolkata, so I have a lot of friends there.
Subhajit, one last point I want to add about Sir before leaving. So, Sir has written 2 movies for Amazon Prime. You
Oh,
can
is it?
check it. I'll send you the link once.
Oh, please, definitely.
Yeah, I'm a screenplay writer, so I write screenplay
Oh,
stories
that's great.
for movies.
ঠিক আছে স্যার, তাহলে দেখা হবে।
Ah, thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. And I think people, thank you very much. Sir, you can leave the meeting. I have something
Yeah.
to discuss with my students.
Thank you.
Thank you.